Now, ISIL may be under attack in Fallujah, but its ability to make money is being squeezed, or is it? A recent report from consultancy firm IHS Global found that captured oil fields are the key sources of income for ISIL. It's believed they make between $20 and $40 million per month in revenue from oil production across Syria and Iraq. Most of that is sold on the black market. As ISIL's territory expands, so too does its influence. The group strictly enforces taxes on all businesses in areas under its control, as well as confiscating land and properties. Another source of income is robbery from banks in cities like Mosul and ransom funds from hostages they've kidnapped. All of this puts the group's estimated net worth close to $2 billion, a staggering amount of money. Let's talk about that with Asad al-Ashi in Doha. He's director of Bitne Syria, a Syrian civil society movement. I mean, does this surprise you, the speed and the amount of wealth that ISIL have managed to amass?
It doesn't really surprise me. I mean, given that ISIL, and I can speak only of Syria because this is my specialty,
sure.
Given that they've controlled all of the oil fields that Syria has, and given that today they're producing about 20,000 barrels of oil only out of Syria, and we're not talking about how much they're producing in Iraq, it's normal that they've amassed that much of a wealth. Now, what is not spoken about, though, is the amount of taxes they're charging on civilians. So although it's assumed that oil is their major source of revenue, actually, as of last month, according to estimates, taxes and extortion payments from civilians in the areas where ISIS has control have taken precedence over oil revenues. So
wow,
today,
that is extraordinary. So really high taxes
is number one.
And I should imagine that everybody pays.
Absolutely. You don't have a choice when you have a gun to your head. Or a sword, in that case, or a knife.
Yeah. Tell us more about the oil industry. I mean, there was a lot of speculation that one of the reasons oil was pushed down to the prices that we're seeing today is to try and squeeze ISIL, but still they've got control over so many fields. How do they get the oil? How do they get the oil out?
Well, basically, they've taken control of the fields that were already producing in Syria before they took control of. So oil fields that were under control of the Syrian Petroleum Company, i.e. the Syrian government. Now, funny enough, the Syrian government or the Syrian regime is still their main customer. So
really?
all the oil they're being able to extract, from the ground in Deir ez-Zor or in Hasaka in the north or Raqqa is being pumped into the refineries of the Syrian regime in Banias and in Homs, or trucked to the Syrian regime. We've all heard about George Haswani, the famous middleman. He's a Syrian Russian. He's a dual national of Syria and Russia. And he was the middleman who made all these agreements and deals possible between the Syrian government and ISIL.
Extraordinary case of I've got morals, if you don't like those, I've got other morals. We know that some moves have been put in place by the UN Security Council. Clearly nothing really has worked, has it, putting a stop to how ISIL gets its money and its funding. What would you suggest? What would you like to see?
Absolutely. Well, absolutely, because ISIL is selling the barrel of oil at a price between $8 and $12. So they're heavily undercutting the market. So from an economical perspective, it's actually quite cheap oil to go and get. I mean, I know the Syrian crude is not the best quality crude in the world. It's heavy, it's sour, etc., and it's full of impurities. But given that it's selling at about, let's say on average, $10 a barrel, when the market today is at about $45 or $49 a barrel, it's a huge subsidy to the Syrian government, who's their main customer. So as long as ISIL is allowed or continue to sell at these very depressed prices, they will always find customers.
And at that price, who's going to stop them?
And it's
al-Achi, very good to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you.